Donnie and Dolly. The team is supported by ableauctions.ca. Closing your business? We can help. And King of Floors, your vinyl, laminate, and engineered flooring superstore.
There's some really interesting comments on Twitter regarding the shot of Francesco Aquilini wearing an Abbotsford Canucks jersey. We'll get to that in a second. People are pretty observant and funny.
Yeah.
It is a Wednesday. It is Wednesday, right? I'm getting that right. Crazy show today. All of our guests are sponsored by the O's marketing team at Royal LePage. The go-to source for all your Central Vancouver Island real estate needs. Find out more at wearerealestate.com as we bring in, as we always do on a Wednesday, Jeff Paterson from Sekeres and Price. Jeff, thanks for doing this. How are you? You got your jersey yet? Your Abbotsford Canucks jersey?
Well, I wanted to get a number 21 jersey, but I see Francesco's got it. So, look, I get that it's the year, but of course, there were a lot of people thought Louis might be the first person to wear number 21 in Abbotsford. So,
not happening.
Beat him to the punch there. Honestly, guys, when I saw that first photo, I thought Wally Buono was in the middle of it, and I was like, what's Wally doing there? I guess that's the mayor. I don't know the mayor of Abbotsford, but that was my first Do
we have that shot, Ryan? There you go. We're just showing the shot that you're talking about, Jeff.
Oh, the white-haired Wally, yeah.
I guess that's the mayor.
Yeah, it's got to be the mayor.
It's not Wally.
It's not Wally.
And there's Francesco wearing the number 21, which is what I was referring to before we started this interview. Just your thoughts, name, logo, colors, Jeff?
I've always liked the Johnny Canuck logo, and I think the green jersey looks pretty sharp. They don't get high marks for creativity with the name or the logo. Like, I would have liked to have seen them tailor the logo a little bit to Abbotsford. I know that they put the A on the sleeves, but give Johnny Canuck, make the toque into an A somehow, or the suspenders, or, this kind of feels like the Canucks just went into the storage closet at Rogers Arena and kind of rummaged around and figured out what was in there and what might work in the Fraser Valley. So, optically, I like the green jersey. I guess that's the one that they'll wear at home, and then the only time I've seen the white is Jim Benning as the model in the photo, and it looks okay as well. So, overall, I'm not going to get worked up about it. I'm far more concerned with the kind of product they put on the ice, the way that they run the business out there, the way they market the team. If they can produce NHL players and they win way more than they lose, I don't care what they wear. But we knew that they were going to get uniforms, so now this is all out of the question, and it's time to get on with the business of stocking that team and making it successful, ultimately to help the big league team.
Jeff, Ottawa, Montreal, other Canadian teams, Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Winnipeg, all with their AHL teams nearby. Do you know what the opinion is in those markets from those teams, what they think of that geographical location for their farm teams? Has it worked?
I think it makes perfect sense on a lot of levels, and I think the Canucks will start to benefit from that next year. Things as simple as tolling cap space on a daily basis. If you have to send a guy to the minors and then bring him back up the next day, I mean, it's just logistically, it's possible now. It's something that they couldn't do for these last bunch of years with the farm team on the other side of the continent. So, we've seen this move across the National Hockey League to try to move farm teams closer to home. And as you said, some of these Canadian teams, Laval, in the same town as Montreal, obviously Winnipeg's got its farm team right there in Winnipeg. So, this isn't anything new, and I just think that there are some competitive advantages that the Canucks will start to reap as early as next season. So it makes perfect sense. I wasn't sure that it was going to come this close to home. I wondered if they were going to cluster with all the California teams, but I like this, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Canucks use this to its fullest advantage to help the big league team ultimately win some hockey games.
Jeff, when I look at the Seattle draft, the list has got to be handed in this Saturday, by the way. When I'm looking at it, it comes down for me, the last forward, between Highmore, Lind, Gadjevich, and McEwen. And then I pair that down to Highmore and Lind. Which one would you keep out of those two, and which one would you expose?
I would probably protect Cole Lind. I know that his audition
Yeah.
wasn't terrific, and I thought it was better early, and then he kind of faded away as the games didn't mean an awful lot. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more. We heard how he's developed his game with some edge and can sort of be an agitator. We didn't really see any of that. Obviously, there wasn't any offense from him. I know it was a tough spot given the COVID situation, but this was the break he was looking for, and this was the NHL. You know, he didn't look out of place, but he certainly didn't put a stamp on his arrival in the league and make you say, like, that is a full-time National Hockey Leaguer. I still think that there's some upside there. We've seen it at other levels, junior, and you know, he found his scoring touch in the American Hockey League. So Matthew Highmore, look, they gave him a terrific opportunity. He made the most of it. He played way higher in the lineup than he probably ought to have, but that wasn't his problem. That just spoke to the depth or the lack thereof for the Vancouver Canucks. So, you know, it's interesting. You mentioned Zach McEwen, and I know Zach didn't have a terrific season last year. There wasn't much in the way of takeaways offensively for him. Big, strong, physical guy. We know the player. He just turned 25. I don't know if Seattle will have interest in a player like Zach McEwen, but I'm fascinated by the way Seattle has built out its front office and leaned so heavily into analytics and the tech sector in Seattle. And again, McEwen didn't have great boxcar numbers, goals and assists, but his underlying numbers were really good. And I wonder if a team like Seattle would see that and think, you know, maybe there is more of a player there than he showed in this past year. I think McEwen was better in previous seasons. In fact, just before COVID hit, he was on a line with Roussel and Gaudette, and they were playing well and scoring. And then he came to the summer camp at this time last year and was one of the stories there. But really since then has kind of faded a little bit and seemed to fall out of favor, in fact, with head coach Travis Green. So I'm doubting that Seattle goes down the Zach McEwen road when it comes to expansion. I am curious about Brayden Holtby. They're going to have options in goal. And I know that Thomas Drance has a piece at The Athletic about, you know, would you pay a second rounder? Would you pay Seattle a second rounder to ensure that they take Brayden Holtby? And in doing so, you know, you clear up cap space. You get $4.3 million off the cap, but you also save the $5.7 in actual money that's owed to Brayden Holtby for this season. Now, you'd have to go and find a backup goaltender.
Yeah, you're going to have to use that 4.3 to go find another goalie.
Well, not the 4.3.
Not all of it, but
you can find a veteran guy in the $1 million mark. The problem is it's an 82-game season, and if they're going to make the playoffs, they need a backup who not just plays but can win hockey games for them. So you're right; it's not as simple as just
saying, cheap. They're not cheap, Jeff. They're not cheap.
I get that, and so that sort of complicates matters. But I do wonder if Seattle was open to that deal. Would they take a second rounder? Would that be enough to get Seattle to take Brayden Holtby off the hands of the Canucks, or do the Canucks think that they can trade Holtby and get something without having to part with a sweetener in that deal? So lots of intrigue here, and I know that the Canucks are making these phone calls and trying to work the phones and see if there are deals to be made. I see people getting frustrated because other trades are and moves are happening around the NHL. You know, I look at this roster protection and submitting your protected lists on Saturday basically is the in-season trade deadline. And so we're still days away. Those phone calls are being made, and I think prices might drop in the days ahead here just before we get to the protected list. So I wouldn't freak out on a Wednesday that the Canucks haven't made any moves, but Jim Benning himself said he was going to be aggressive. We're in the middle of July, and this team hasn't done anything to this point here in the offseason, so they haven't been terribly aggressive yet, at least on the surface. We'll see if all the hard work that they're doing behind the scenes can pay off to them. Because, look, if they're going to protect Cole Lind or Matthew Highmore, that tells you that there is room to find better players that they should be protecting. So I certainly hope that Jim Benning is able to, you know, help this roster and make this team better. This seems like a real opportunity, and there are still a few days to get that done.
People got to realize, Jeff, prices are high. He's trying. I talked to a bunch of agents last night. Prices are very, very high right now. What is the price for Edler and Hamonic? The Canucks have made offers. Your thoughts on the Canucks trying to get one or two of those guys back?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've had this conversation before that, you know, one or the other, maybe, but if you're bringing them both back, that feels like the same defense core, and they're not getting any younger. They're both into their 30s. Edler's going to turn 36 at some point this season. So, you know, through all of this about being aggressive and opportunities, the bottom line is they got to get better. And if you're just bringing back the same pieces on this defense, I'm not sure how that makes them a whole lot better. So I'm a little leery that the discussions have got to that point. Pen hasn't been put to paper yet, but if they bring both of those guys back, to me, that's not doing enough to try to make this team better, and they need a lot of work, and there's room for improvement. And so I'm a little frightened, quite frankly, to hear that they're discussing and progressing in those talks with those two players.
Jeff, thanks so much for this. Appreciate it. Talk to you on
All right,
Friday.
guys.
Oh, Jeff,
Yeah, you bet.
we're supposed to say Jeff Paterson from Sekeres
and Price.
Yes.
And for people who don't realize this,
is he
Jeff
gone?
has
Is he
joined
gone?
Sekeres
Yeah.
and Price on a full-time basis. Still there, Jeff?
No, he's
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sekeres and Price, Jeff Paterson from Sekeres and Price.
But I'm
Congratulations.
not leaving you guys entirely.
No,
I know.
The deal is
I
that
know.
I'll still be able to contribute to Donnie and Dolly once a week. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll make sure that happens in the fall.
Well, let me just say this, Jeff. Well, one thing the Canucks have been missing, lately is you grilling them in person, left and right, and you're going to be doing that now with your role on Sekeres and Price. So that's a good thing for all the fans out there.
Well, thanks, Donnie and Dolly. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back to the rink, and let's hope we move beyond the Zoom age and actually get a chance to do some in-person interviews now that we seem to be on the right side of COVID.
Congrats, and thanks for this, Jeff.
Thanks, guys.
Again.